The Department of Homeland Security has issued a bulletin warning about possible, though unspecified and unconfirmed, attacks in the United States in retaliation for the killing today of al-Qaeda leader Anwar al-Awlaki in Yemen. Awlaki was a 40-year-old American, a child of privilege from New Mexico, who became the #1 most influential evangelist of the murder of Americans in the name of Islam. Here's ABC's Martha Raddatz in Afghanistan.
Terry, the U.S. had actually been tracking Awlaki for months. Unbeknownst to Awlaki, the U.S. knew exactly where he was hiding.
So never underestimate the power of fear.
Anwar al-Awlaki had been one of the most wanted terrorists for years, considered especially dangerous because he was, in fact, American, and therefore knew of the targets in the U.S. that could be vulnerable to attacks. Today, in a highly targeted attack, he finally met his end. The U.S. had been zeroing in on Anwar al-Awlaki's location for months. U.S. military officials determined Awlaki was hiding out in a compound deep in the backcountry of Yemen. What Awlaki could never know was high overhead, American surveillance aircraft and satellites were watching that compound 24 hours a day, while armed drones flew nearby. All they needed was Awlaki to step out into the daylight. They waited and waited until this morning. Awlaki, one of the most wanted terrorists in the world, walked out and climbed into a pickup truck. A huge break. As he began to drive, more than 7,000 miles away, likely at CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, operators using remote controls raced the drones into position. Within moments, the drones were locked in on the vehicle as it sped along the roadway below. Moments later, at 9:55 a.m., the drones fired more than 3 Hellfire missiles, hitting the vehicle carrying Awlaki. It erupted in flames, but his was the only vehicle hit, a testament to the increased usage and accuracy of the drone program.
With laser-like precision, you can hit that single target that you wanted.
In the burning wreckage alongside him was another al-Qaeda operative and another American citizen, Samir Khan. Khan, of Pakistani descent, was the editor of Awlaki's online magazine called Inspire, used to spread his message of terror across the globe. This afternoon, the president called Awlaki's death a major blow to al-Qaeda.
This is further proof that al-Qaeda and its affiliates will find no safe haven anywhere in the world.
Born in 1971 in New Mexico to Yemeni parents, Awlaki went to college in Colorado, eventually working in mosques in San Diego and Virginia. He was once considered a moderate, even asked to help the U.S. government reach out to Muslims. In this 2001 Washington Post video, Awlaki appeared calm.
Islam is a religion of peace.
But it was just a year later that he moved to his family home in Yemen, creating incredibly influential online videos preaching jihad against the United States.
Awlaki's chief contribution to the network of al-Qaeda is that he's an American, and he can talk in the American vernacular to potentially disaffected Muslims, and he's been very effective at that.
His message inspired men like Faisal Shahzad, who attempted to blow up a car bomb in Times Square in May of 2010. And according to U.S. officials, he also advised the so-called underwear bomber, who tried to bring down a plane over Detroit in 2009. This was the first time since 2002 CIA drones had been used in Yemen. But last May, military drones narrowly missed another convoy in which Awlaki was riding. Confusion in the air added to a series of errors, causing missiles to hit the back of his truck. Operators were stunned to see the truck move right through the fireball. They seemed to have learned from those mistakes, and this time, Awlaki wasn't quite so lucky. I'm Martha Raddatz for Nightline in Afghanistan.
And thanks to Martha Raddatz for that report. And we're going to turn now to the anchor of This Week with Christiane Amanpour. Christiane, is this a big deal? The end of Al-Qaeda, is that what we're looking at?
Look, I think it is a big deal, and it is practically the end of Al-Qaeda, at least if you believe Leon Panetta, who said the defeat of Al-Qaeda is within sight. And that's because they're having a huge amount of trouble fundraising, recruiting, and being relevant. And in addition to that, the whole dynamic has changed in the Arab and Muslim world. People are rising up for freedom and democracy and not for violent change like Al-Qaeda's philosophy is.
The Arab Spring is competing with
That's
bin
exactly
Ladenism.
right.
Now, President Obama, he's got Osama bin Laden, now al-Awlaki. Does this establish him really as a strong president in the war on terror in people's minds?
I think in the war on terror, yes, because he hasn't shrunk from doing these very difficult things, and he's really dramatically raised the tempo of these drone strikes, which are controversial. That's a whole nother issue. But the list of big bad guys who've been wiped out is quite impressive. You've got Osama bin Laden, you've got al-Awlaki now, and all sorts of others. But those two particularly were the charismatic linchpins and faces of this Al-Qaeda machine. And now they've gone.
And a real continuity between the way Bush fought this war and the way Obama is.
Continuity, but much more aggressive under President Obama, much more.
Qampagn.mp4, thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you.